you have any questions, just shoot them in the chat. I'll watch that and I'll see if I can't get them into Jim or David at an appropriate moment. So with that, to you, David and Jim.
All right. Thank you, Rick, and welcome. I'm going to start it out. And just to kind of warm us up, it would be interesting in the chat box, if you could just type in a technique that you had been using pre-COVID that you are not able to use now, a business development technique. Let's just type that into the chat box. It would be interesting to see how our worlds have sort of changed given these circumstances. And as you're doing that, you know, it is just such a different time, but the same time. The rules are pretty much the same, but how we play the game is different. We still have to build relationships. We still need to stay top of mind with people. But the question now is how? What's the toolkit that we're going to use? And so that's what Jim and I are going to take you through here. You know, hey, as a consultant, if I didn't have some sort of a mnemonic, I wouldn't be worth my salt. So we're going to talk about the 3 M's. There's going to be a mindset that you're going to have. There are going to be some measures that you're going to want to look at here. And then we're going to give you a lot of methods for you to be able to take away. So kind of interesting. Let's go get started here. Let's see, got to click on my screen and there we go. So some of the techniques that you might have used: going on site for a client meeting, maybe going and giving a presentation at a client's location. Some of you might visit a client on site to go see their operations. This one I think is going to be gone for a while. Speaking or going to these large conferences. I think those techniques are going to be gone for a while here. Having meals with our clients, maybe 6 feet away, having some cocktails or going to big sporting events. A lot of this, gone. In a way, it's live is dead right now. And so what we really need is a different way of looking at it. And so I think Chuck here had it right. It's really not about the strongest. It's really not about the most intelligent. It really is about, can you shift in this time? Can you change the habits that you've had to be able to do things in a different way? And at this point, Jim, take us over.
Okay. I think if I just clicked on the screen.
You got it.
Aha. So it worked, David. So here is your classic toolbox. So following up with Charles Darwin, you probably all have many different tools that you use for business development. And David probably just showed you most of them. And they often involved in-person activity. So what does that different toolbox look like? And how can you, to use one of the favorite business words these days, how can you pivot or adapt from the in-person life to the not in-person life? And in addition, you've been given a little bit of it. This doesn't sound positive, but I suppose it is. If you're not getting work, if this is the work that you normally would be getting, that you'd be doing for your clients, and you're not getting as much of that, then, you know, what do you do to spend your time? You've got time now. So it's, as David, the words that David will use later are talk about the gift of time. So what do you do with that? How can you take best advantage? And our view here is the world that, you know, you always think of doors opening and doors closing. So sure, all those various scenarios of in-person activity right now are closed off to you. But does that give you an opportunity to open other doors and other ways of communicating, potentially with prospects and new clients, different ways of communicating with them? I have a favorite expression that you probably all heard playing sports growing up about: luck is the intersection of preparation and opportunity. So how do you get lucky with new clients and prospects? Well, you prepare to do that now in a different way, and you welcome the opportunities that you have, that you create out of the different way of doing business development, so that you can then take advantage of opportunity and have new clients. So I believe if I click, aha, there, it's still me. So how do you get to this stage? If this is your current client who might need more work, your prospect, how do you get them to think, hey, I need a lawyer? And most importantly, how do you get them to think of you as being that lawyer? How do you get them, how do you stay top of mind, one of David's favorite expressions, so that when something crosses their desk that says, wow, I need somebody now, or I need somebody right away, how can they think of you? So, oh, wait, something just happened. I
Something
apologize.
just happened. It's okay.
That was
Let me take over.
okay. Go ahead. That was my fault. I clicked
Okay.
on the wrong thing.
We had a couple of responses here to your inquiry, and it might fit in right now with
As we do through our
contact.
technical thing.
Yeah, we had lunch and learn presentations as their previous method, direct mail,
Mm-hmm.
and in-person presentations actually at companies. So those were a few of the comments we had, and I'll give it back to you guys.
Well, and if I may, I think the thing about Lunch and Learn that's so great is that it's now Zoom and Learn.
Yeah, yeah.
And it could be better, and you could reach out all over the place, and it actually becomes, as Jim was saying, more of an opportunity than you may have had otherwise with a different mindset on. But go ahead, Jim, we're back in the saddle, so go ahead.
Back in the saddle. All right. So where we were was here. How do we get that client or that prospect's brain to think of a lawyer as you? And now here's the gift, and you'll hear more from David later about gifts. So you have a gift of time. How are you going to invest that gift? In what groups? So here are several. One, the people in your firm, and we'll talk about that. How do you pay attention to other lawyers, other practice groups, your own practice groups, etc.? Current clients, what can you be doing with them in this digital world, this virtual world that might be different from the lunches and learns and the presentations and the sporting events and the things that you've done in the past? How about the current contacts that you have? If you have time, what can you do to nurture those? And how do you select among them for the priorities? And here's a big one. How about some people you'd like to get to know, but didn't have the time or didn't take the time to do that in the past? How do you create a list of 5 or 10? And maybe most importantly, how about yourself? What can you do in terms of taking time for yourself to make yourself a business developer that can not only succeed in the in-person world, but can succeed in the Zoom world in addition? So if I click now,
There we
I
go.
think, David, to you.
I am. And so we will be getting to you toward the end of this, a good list of the methods. So we're teasing you up with this, but you know, there is a lot that could be done. But you know, this is a problem. This concept of, I know I should call this person, I know I should send that email, but you just don't know how to do it. And so in sales, there's a term for this called call reluctance. And it hits everybody. It hits me, it hits Jim, people who are professionals at this. You don't want to look inappropriate. And so we've got to find ways to overcome this. And so what happens though is we have to look at our mindset, because we are often tied up in nots, all the reasons why we should not do something. And you may recognize some of these. It might be, oh, they don't need what I do right now. Well, and especially as a litigator, you know that. You know, it doesn't always show up. But are there other things you can do to help them? We have to think about that a little bit. They don't want to hear from a lawyer right now. I mean, certainly in March, that was the mantra of everybody that I knew. And yet you'd listen to clients. And what are the clients saying? The clients are saying, I want to talk to some really smart people. I want to talk to people who are going through this, who have talked to others, so I can learn from them. Mm-hmm. So they actually do want to hear from you, because you are someone that might be able to either help them personally, or in your network, you might be able to put them together with people. Well, you know, I don't want to be looking vampiric or opportunistic right now and salesy. I get it. It is absolutely not the time to look that way. But if we can flip what you are doing from a sales thing to a helping thing, you're still doing what you have to do. Make contact with important people. And you're doing it in a way that they're going to welcome and in a way that you're going to feel comfortable doing. So you don't have to just stare at that phone. With a helpful mindset, you can actually pick up that phone or shoot out that email. And, hey, they won't use us because they've been using X. That may be true. But back to the slide Jim was talking about with that door that's open.
Mm-hmm.
Clients have some time now. They're reflecting on their relationships. Some of their lawyers are not showing up for them in a way that's helpful. For you to show up, to be as helpful as you possibly can. I mean, I've seen statistics that say that for large clients, about 60% of them were considering changing their main counsel within the next 18-month period. So who's top of mind? Is it going to be you next on that list? You can do it by using some of these techniques. And so this is probably the most important thing to think about. I call this the 30-second rule. Often this hits me while I'm doing the dishes. And I'm in there and my mind is kind of going relaxed. An idea will hit me. Maybe that knot will show up at first. And then I stop. And I ask myself, how can I do it? What techniques can I use? So instead of having that roadblock come up and I stop, I think. This has been game-changing for me personally as a business developer, because now I'm always searching for a good reason why I should do something instead of why not. So Rick didn't tell you, but I actually can read your future. And in looking at the future, what the future is basically saying is clients are looking at you in a certain way. And they're looking at, how did you do in this past year during this pandemic? Did you really show up for me? Were you a friend? Were you an ally? Did you put me together with people that could help me? That's the impressions that we want to make. And so if you really want to look at the math, that's what we want to look at. How many great impressions can you make? And so I'm just going to get somebody in here. There we go. So make no mistake, you are being measured. Clients may not say it out loud, but you know what's happened. People who are showing up for you in your life. I mean, I'll give you a personal example. When all of this came out, I would have loved to have my accountant reach out to me and to say, hey, David, here's how you can get some government money. I've done the research and all you need to do is follow the bouncing ball. Just do what I tell you to do. Did that happen? No. I'm not happy with that. So are there ways?
Can I jump in? Can
Please,
I jump in, Dave?
Go.
And I think the irony is I have a sole practitioner accountant right here in Philadelphia, and she picked up the phone and said, have you been following this news on the Paycheck Protection Program? Even though you're an LLC and you're a sole practitioner, you would qualify. And that call meant the world to me. I'll stop.
Absolutely. So are you the kind of person that's showing up like Jim's accountant? That's the mindset that is to be shifted here. And so there's this book, Giftology, which I love. And in it, he talks about this concept of being a giverpreneur. This is the business that you're in. Again, even if this world was not the way it is right now with COVID, you know, as litigators, it's not like you could just walk in and say, hey, I know you've got litigation happening right now, so do you have any work for me today? We need to come up with reasons to stay relevant, to stay top of mind with them, to stay valuable. So we want to look at ways you can give things to people. We'll get into some of those techniques a bit later. And so in terms of the math, here's your math. Number one, how many high value people can you collect and make contact with? And then you add to that, how many gifts can you give to them? And this is not, the logoed thermos that I got in the mail that was lovely last week, but it's the gifts of your time. It's gifts of things that you can offer as a professional. It's the gifts of the relationships that you could put people together with that could be helpful for them. So at this point, Jim, take it away.
I think if I go, aha. So you've all probably heard, again, I seem to be the master of cliches today. You've all heard the cliche, you can't manage it unless you can measure it. If you don't measure it, you can't manage it, however you want to say that. So let's put it positively. One of the things you want to do as we go forward here in terms of using your time well and working with people that you can help, that are high value people. And the offers of help that you're going to make is you want to be able to measure your activity in a positive way. So we have all types of folks on the call, I'm sure. Some of you may be still keeping notes in a pad on your desk. Some of you may be using spreadsheets. Some of you, like personally, I love an Outlook calendar. That's a way that helps me measure things. So you can, for example, start to pay attention to which of your internal connections within the firm do you want to advance? Which do you want to build? How about people in your contact list that you know outside the firm? How do you reconnect with them, or again, build that relationship more? Here's the one I mentioned before. How about people outside the firm that you don't know yet, but you have a time now to make a short list of those people that you think you could get in touch with? And David will probably talk about this later, but I'll tell you, the beauty of LinkedIn is that you can learn through that, that online system about who you know that may know one of those folks. And maybe one of those folks, one of the people you know, could make an introduction for you, so that now you enter into a conversation warmly as opposed to coldly. So there's a way there. What are the favors? What are the gifts? What are the offers of help that you can do? And David said something very important. Even though the graphic that we chose is one that looks like holiday presents, it's really not about a thing, giving someone the best corkscrew that they can have, although I'm sure they're drinking a lot of wine right now. It's more about professionally, and David said it a couple of times, and I want to underscore it. Maybe there's somebody in your network that could be helpful to somebody, to them, to this person. And by connecting the two of them, you've done an untold favor there that really would be of tremendous value. And again, this is really what I just said. What are the value-added follow-ups? And I'll talk later on about that in terms of how do you follow up in a positive way. But meanwhile, let's graphically look at some of these things. So inside your firm, you say, well, what are you talking about? Who am I supposed to connect with? Well, let's look at the buckets. So clearly, there are the lawyers in the firm. Now, they're in various groups. They're in your practice group. Are there people in your practice group you don't know as well as you should, and you now have the gift of time to do that? How about other practice groups that you get to know well? And if you're a litigator, this is a very important thing to get to know the other practice groups, so that when the time is right, not now, not in a COVID world, but when the time is right, can you represent those other practice groups to your clients and prospects and be a portal to the firm for them? How about the other offices? If you've got several offices in the firm, as I know, I'm looking at Rick's picture here, and I know Kitch has several offices, maybe there are people you don't know that you could know better. And obviously, if people have lateraled in, one of the things that helps a lateral settle in their first 12 months is lawyers reaching out to them to get to know them. So again, you've got lots of opportunity. And of course, in addition to the professional staff that you may not know, the marketing and business development people, for example, that could be of help to you. So I'm not suggesting you do all of these folks, but your list of internal people could include folks from any of these buckets. Then externally, there are tons. So I'll run through the list quickly. Here are the buckets from which you can draw your short lists. Current clients, former clients, they're often forgotten. Referral sources, I'm going to talk about those later. They're incredibly important to nurture and offer help to. Alumni of the firm. Maybe there are people who are now have gone off to be inside counsel. And guess what? If you have a relationship with them, perhaps you can draw some of that business your way as you get to know them. Again, you're not selling now. You're only building relationship. How about opponents that you met across the table that you respect and recognize and want to get to know more? Prospective clients, obviously people that you don't know now but want to get to know. Maybe you can introduce yourself and make an offer of help. Friends and family, you often ignore them and their relationships with who they know. Getting to know them a little better might introduce you to people that would be, for whom you could be valuable. Even the media out there, people that you've met through interviews, They may be people who could help you meet people that would be helpful, and that you'd be helpful to them. One of the oldest conversations in the book is about various organizations and boards that you serve on. What could you be doing in addition there to nurture relationships on those? And last but not least, your own passions and hobbies. This could even include the passion you have while standing on the sideline of a soccer game with another parent who happens to be the CEO of a business that you'd like to get to know. Maybe it's time to build a relationship there. So I believe, David, if I click off, over to you.
Jim,
Okay.
you guys mind if I toss a question in here?
Do it.
Of course.
The comments from someone that kind of tied into that, and that was kind of in my mind as well. But how do you cultivate that personal touch for developing that network while we're all sitting at home or not able to have that personal contact?
Well, I'll tell you, if I may, I'm finding that using Zoom or whatever preferred tool you want to use, has been deepening more relationships than I've had before. That I can have, first of all, multiple people on at the same time. We get to see each other.
Right.
It's really incredible. Just the studying of how to use Zoom well. And one example is that I've actually started a group of people who are interested in something that I'm interested in, a passion. I have 36 people in this group right now. I started it. I do it weekly. People keep showing up, which means they care. They're not doing it because they're being nice to me, but I found something they care about. And people who have time on their hands right now, this is something, and they can't go to conferences. So they can't learn stuff. So you can actually be a micro conference in a topic that people want to get together about. I mean, I'm going to hit you with the brainstorming list of the methods in a few minutes, but there are a lot of tools where you can use it. And Jim, any thoughts?
I would just add in that, this sounds terrible, but people are starved for contact. I think people are looking so that if you can create an opportunity, again, Zoom, I won't talk more about that, but even if it's just a phone call or an email or something that suggests, hi, I'm here, and I was thinking that this, whatever this is, and David will talk more about that in a second, might be of use to you, some professional offer of something. It's amazing how in this time they have time too, and they have time to consider that, hey, I'm so glad this person reached out. Maybe I could talk to him or her about X, whatever X is. And stay tuned on that, because we're going to show you a brain with a lot of X's around it. So hang on for 1 second.
All right, Rick, any other questions there? And actually, maybe we'll hold it toward the end unless it's something that's right on relevant for this.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything right now.
Okay, good. So let's talk about this. Jim showed the slide about the internal lawyers inside the firm, all of these different areas, your own practice group, other practices, other offices, new laterals. There's a lot of opportunities to do cross-selling. But we did talk about that you don't want to look opportunistic. So here's what I recommend. During this time period, I'd like to kill the word cross-selling. Let's replace it with a different approach. It might be cross-connecting people in your network. It may be cross-serving. I actually own the trademark on that phrase, but I'm even going another level, which is cross-helping. If you can help as many people as you possibly can with other people in your own firm, other people, referral sources. I mean, this is a great time to connect with referral sources. I'm actually doing a number of different presentations with other people in my network who are referral sources, and we are helping each other get exposure to our marketplaces. People who are referral sources to you are going to want to get out into the marketplace and reach out to other people. You could be the purveyor of a new idea. So lots of ways to look at this. Jim talked about measures. So let me talk about 3 measures you can look at here for increasing your cross-helping. Very logical. Number 1, measure the number of internal conversations you're having about finding cross-helping opportunities, cross-selling opportunities, same thing. But talk about it. In our firms, we don't get together and talk about it. And I've run retreats around this, and every time we end the retreat, they say, why don't we do this more often? Look at the millions of dollars of revenue that we just found. Now let's go after it. So number one, talk about it, measure the conversations. Number two, have conversations with clients about it. Kind of logical, but we don't measure ourselves on these things. And then number three is you've got to stay following up. You have to stay top of mind internally. So if you're in a firm of any decent size, you might just get lost. Or you did a presentation a year ago. Do you think people remember it? In all honesty, everybody's busy. So you have to stay top of mind with your niche internally, as well as stay top of mind externally with the client. So these are three important things here for you to measure. And so, Jim, I think you're taking us to the next piece here.
I think I am.
All right.
And let's do it. Aha. So I think just remember the term. David was the one. If I can throw a little, positive juju his way, he was the one who really helped all of us who work in the marketing and business development space with lawyers move from the term cross-selling to cross-servicing. And I now think of it as cross-helping, because a lot of what we want to do now is do that. You're going to hear us again 48 hours from now, whatever you remember from what David and I actually said. If you can remember the term, how do I help people in my network, we will have had a victory. So this particular group, your allies, David and I look at as your referral sources. And I think these are people who are incredibly important to help and nurture. Now, David may not have heard me say this, but I think you have to be, I would like to see you be selective here. Sometimes I see lawyers go off and say, I've got, 25 different people who are referral sources for me. And I look at them and go, seriously? Like, really? You have full 25? How about the 3 of them? Or in this handful, you might have 9 of them that are actually going to do referrals for you, and you have evidence to that. So right now, I would pick the highest leverage group of your referral sources and say, how can I take care of them? How can I help them? And that's the question. Could you, for example, do something together where you co-market with one of your referral sources to a combined group of people that includes his folks or her folks and your folks? Could you deliver a webinar? Could you write something together that has your name and his or her name on it? That way, you're really offering to help them go to market and do something important.
And Jim, let me just add something here.
Yes, please do.
This is actually one of those moments, because a couple of times we've referenced, how can you reach out to some people that you've never met yet?
Okay,
this gives you an opportunity to cold call somebody, to basically invite them to come on a webinar. And so, we'll talk more about it, but I want to tie all that in for those of you who are going, you're talking theory, guys, but where's some of the practicality? This is a way to do it. Go ahead, Jim.
I was talking about people that were already referral sources for you, but boy, what an opportunity. If going back to David's slide about the guy sitting there with 30 seconds, or maybe you're doing the dishes or you're taking a shower or whatever it is, well, this would be a way to say, hey, how do I reach out to this person and maybe offer them something and get to know them that way? That would be perfect. You can help add value to their clients by writing for their publications. David has a great idea here, the idea of, can you now in this Zoom and COVID world actually have office hours? My wife happens to be a professor at Villanova University, which is 3 miles down the road. And of course, they live and die by office hours each week. Well, what a concept. Maybe something we can borrow from the academic world, that, from Wednesday afternoons from 1 to 4, you could be available to their clients and to them to help them with the things that are on their mind. So I think those are very important. And I believe, wait a minute, I just did something that I shouldn't have done.
That's okay. I'll take over the helm, Captain.
I think if
there
I
we
go
go.
there, okay, over to you,
All
David.
right. Thank you, number 2, or number 1, or Kirk, or whoever.
Yes, Star Trek. Go ahead, yes.
So, this now gets into an important part when we showed the picture of the fellow staring at the phone. How do we start these conversations? That often is the biggest issue. And I'll just go ADD on you for a second. There was a point in my career where I worked with Smith Barney. And very early in my career. And so they actually sent us up to New York for a month to do two things: train us in product, but then they also put us in the telephone lab. Oh, yeah. And that was a place where we actually had to practice making cold calls and how to keep people on the phone, because we had to overcome call reluctance. And so the game was, how can you start a conversation in such a compelling way so people want to continue to engage with you? And so these are some ways that might be helpful. Jim, do you have something?
I was just going to say, David said this so well a couple of minutes ago. You've been looking at your watch and going, okay, this is lovely. We've had 34 minutes of theory, and these guys we love having these guys talk, but where's the juice? Where's the practicality? Well, the next two slides, if you're looking for what do I actually do, David's going to show you.
So let's start up here. So one, this is just a great general line. And a lot of these, you just figure out, who is it going to fit for? For different people, it's going to fit different ways. But there may be some people who, like former clients, that bucket that Jim talked about. You might be able to reach out to somebody and say, you know what, I was thinking about you. Based on, what we did with you on XYZ, I'm wondering how that's impacting you. And, are you okay now? Nobody's going to think you're selling to them. You're just checking in. This is a time to be the most human in your business development that you've ever been, perhaps. Another variation. I'm here to help you work your way through this. Our firm is on top of a lot of these legal issues. What's worrying you these days? You notice a lot of this, the questions are in here. How can I or anybody else in my network be helpful to you right now? Here's especially for you as litigators. I can imagine you may be having some difficult discussions with your partners, customers, landlords, suppliers. Is there anything we can do to help? I mean, this is one of my favorite techniques with the litigators that I'm coaching right now, because there's a lot of things that are gurgling up under the surface. And so to be able to be there early to help with a little triage, you will be imprinting now before the stuff hits the fan.
Right.
This is another one. This is the right timing now. Now that we've got a little bit of breathing room in all this, perhaps this is a really good time to review your e-discovery policies, your litigation hold policies, your XYZ, whatever it is for you. Is there any questions? I know there's a lot going on and a lot of confusion. Anything I can do to help? I've asked many, many clients what they need right now, and they've generally said, whatever. Is that an issue for you? I really like this one, because what this does is it positions you as the expert, someone who has seen this over and over and over, and that's what people need right now. So these are some lines to get the email started or the phone call started to help you break through. But now let's get to the meat of this. Everything's the crescendo leading up to this. So this brain is that client, the prospect, the referral source. You want to be the one embedded in there when something shows up. So as we talked about, you need to give them some quote unquote gifts. And so some of the gifts, and I got to move the images here of all of us. Hang on, so I can see what's going on. There we go. So a lot of you did this in the first instance of reviewing their force majeure clauses. That was a great excuse to have a conversation. Maybe there are some deals floating around that you can actually put people together in your network. I'm having a conversation with somebody I met Saturday to try to hook him up with some IP lawyers in Detroit because he's got a product for the automobile industry. I never met him before, but you know what? Let's put people together in the networks that we all have. Maybe you could do a little bit of homework or research for them. That might be something if you got some time on your hands. And I know a lot of the litigators that I'm working with, there was about a 6-week to 2-month window of trail to the work that they were doing, and then things started slowing down. Yes, the courts are reopening, but there may be some time that you have. This one is one of my favorites. Create the COVID checklist. Now, this is a cross-helping checklist. It goes beyond your personal practice. So if you are in a firm that may have cross practices, you could put down the 3 to 4 things that are most important for employment, the 3 to 4 most important things from a restructuring bankruptcy, 3 to 4 more important for real estate, et cetera, et cetera. And what it does is it gives you the excuse to have a cross-selling conversation, but in a helping manner. So it may be, hey there, Jane, I'm just checking in because we've got this COVID task force. We've put together a list of things that are on our client's mind, and I'd love to share that list and go through it with you. If you'd want, happy to bring in a lawyer in another group, no charge, just to talk it through with you. It is a great way to tease out what their issues are. Free services. Maybe you've got some capacity, and it might be a time to try to steal some work from another law firm and to say, you know what, we've got a little bit of capacity based on this right now. We've always wanted you to try our blankety blank department, and we're happy to give you $5,000, $10,000 worth of time so that we can audition for you, to take the risk out of it for you. Right client, right situation. They might have been grumbling a little bit. This is a tool to use. Of course, you're always going to give some advice. And here is one of my favorites. Your clients, the leadership teams, are getting together more than they ever have. Can you put yourself in that meeting virtually? So to offer to them, if you're talking about a topic that you think I would be valuable virtually sitting in on, let me know. I am happy to join. Or I'm happy to have somebody else in a different practice join. I did a presentation like this for a firm a couple of weeks ago. The managing partner sent me an email back afterwards saying she's used this technique and it's generated 5 pieces of work for her because she's the only outside lawyer in that room. It's a great technique. Offer it. Don't wait for them to come to you. Good time to ask for feedback. Maybe you can provide them some training. Maybe things are a little bit slow or there's some changes based on COVID. Provide some training. We talked about the office hours or providing some introductions to people. That's a powerful way to go. This is one of my favorites, absolute favorite. Start your own Zoom group. I mentioned I've done this. I've got 36 people on my call right now. I know lawyers who are doing this because the annual blah, blah, blah conference is not happening, but everybody still wants to talk to each other. So reach out to your 3, 4, 5, or 6 friends that you've made. Say, would you like to get on a Zoom call and talk about the stuff we would have talked about otherwise? And then it might just grow. And then ask those people if they want to invite other people. This is a cold calling technique. You can get the people you know to invite people you want to know through them. This is one of the techniques that's worked. I started out with 6 or 7 people on my group, and everybody has started inviting other people who they think want to be part of the call. Co-authoring and co-presenting. We talked about that and how that's a cold calling technique. Conducting research and surveys. I actually just facilitated a session with a group that is a great group for me to get work from. It was a brainstorming group. I crowdsourced their best practices, pulled it out of them. I got 100 tips out of them. And then I'm going to create a research report to send back to the entire industry group of 400 to 500 people, positioning me as an expert in that area. 30-second rule. Stop, think. How can I do it? Announcements, you're doing a lot of PR and all that. I know your poor marketing departments are going crazy pushing out all your content. Updates, you're doing a lot of that. As Jim mentioned, LinkedIn, helping people find a job. A lot of people have lost their jobs. Can you help them? You can become their next best friend by doing that. You may have people in your network. And then also the media starts with a fresh page, either electronically or otherwise, every single day. You can provide them content. You are an expert. So you can arm them there. All right, Jim, take us from here.
I just want to add one thing to what you said back on the brain. You talked about the checklist.
Yes.
And to me, I know I've said it before, but if you're a litigator, and I would suggest that most people in this group are, the more you can take some time right now to understand what are the 3 things I want to say about labor and employment? What are the 3 things I want to say about the corporate group? What are the 3 things I can say about, immigration law? Whatever it is, if you can take the time now to have those checklists so they become offers of help, then in the future, when cross-selling returns and all of a sudden you can hear from your client or prospect that they have a need that isn't litigation, but you recognize it from your checklist, you now can become the portal to other people in the firm. So
And I'm going to add one more piece to that. So another
Yes.
very practical, user-friendly tool. So let's say you go to your labor and employment group and say, tell me the 1, 2, or 3 hot issues your clients are facing. Then ask them to form it as a question.
Right.
So that then you are armed with everything you need. Instead of having to interpret the gobbledygook that they just gave you, you'll now have the 3 questions in labor and employment, the 3 corporate questions, et cetera. That will be faster. So go ahead, Jim, take us from here.
Just think what you've done in terms of going back to the buckets by going to the labor and employment lawyer, that you've built relationship with them because you came to them to ask.
Yeah.
So how do you handle this? 2/3 of all leads that you get, of all opportunities that are put before you, that door has opened. You now have, you've prepared, you have an opportunity, you can create your own luck, but you don't follow up. You do a one and done. And you've probably heard this mentioned in other arenas before, but in the old rules of advertising, back in the olden days, when David and I were tiny, you had to hear something 7 to 10 times before you even know that you heard it. So advertising required that repetition. Well, guess what? If you have in your 30 seconds, if you all of a sudden reach out once to someone, that's lovely, but you can't end there. You actually have to reach out more and follow up. So how do you do that? How do you actually have a system whereby you can remind yourself that you have to do certain things? Again,
and
you may
Jim,
be.
let me
Yes.
just cut in only because we've got the verbal contract that we're going to end at 9:45, which it is. So maybe we need to just go through our last slides fairly quickly.
Got it. Thank you very much for the reminder. So you need a way to remind yourself. We've talked about establishing goals, meaning I want to meet 5 new people. I want to follow up with these 5 referral sources. Keep yourself tied to a goal. You definitely want to pull from your personal contact list, pick priorities. If you know someone in the firm, even if it's virtual, who's very good at doing business development this way, shadow them, learn from them. Use your Outlook calendar. That's the way I happen to do it. If I send something to David Freeman today, I have a note 3 weeks from today to follow up with him. I'm a firm believer in this. Give yourself at least an hour a week to plan. 8 o'clock on Friday morning, whenever it works for you, give yourself time and schedule it into your calendar. Find somebody in the firm. If I'm working at Kitch with Rick, I'm going to find him and say, we need to get together every couple of weeks and be each other's buddy system on how we're doing this. You can be my accountability as well. You can use your assistant to help you that way. And even the BD and marketing folks can be of help. Do not fail to figure out some methodology to help you follow up, because one and done won't really work. Over to you.
All right. So bringing us home here, you see this old school business card. We are all, you're great at being the attorney, but something we need to now double and triple and quadruple down on is being the counselor, the helper, the friend, the coach. That is what we want to really, really drill into you now. And so that brings us to the end. We can unmute. And if there is anything, I'm going to stop the screen share.
Okay.
And then if anybody has any questions for us, we will stay on for 5, 10 or more minutes and happily answer any questions you have. Otherwise, Rick, wherever you want to take it from here.
Well, if anybody has any questions, everybody's been, well, no, wait a minute. I'm saying everybody's still muted. Maybe Kyle can take everybody off of mute.
Or you can do it individually. People can just unmute individually. This way we'll keep any background sound from happening.
Okay.
So the only
questions?
issue with that would be I have to unmute them first, and then they would have to remute themselves.
Got it. Let's do it, and we'll take the risk.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so I have a question.
Yes. Who is this?
This is Irene Hathaway.
Hello.
I have very much enjoyed this, and as going through it, I was sort of feeling bad that I did not share this with some of the other folks in my firm, and I think it would be helpful for. How can I share this and with them?
I mean, I think from my perspective, 2 ways. One is we'll probably be able to have the slides available, and Jim and I probably will huddle up on this, but if you would want us to do a presentation like that in your firm, we could probably figure out a way to do that.
Sure.
And
Well,
also, sorry, also we do have a recording of this, and the
Okay.
recording will be posted on the MDTC website when we get done. So
Great.
Oh, that would be helpful. I'm not the one that makes the decisions, but I'd love to send it to our managing partner for his review.
Understood.
Great.
Thanks, Irene. Anybody else have any questions? This is your opportunity. Any unique situations you might have, or you want a business development coach? You have two of them sitting right in front of you for the next
For better or
5,
for
10,
worse.
15 minutes.
Okay, I hate to hog things, but let me
No,
ask one more
please.
question.
Please.
A lot of us spend a lot of time writing things, and the question is, how do we, once we've written something that a client would like, what's the best way to get the client's attention? I have found that I myself am overwhelmed with helpful things from various providers, and I just wonder if there's a way to break through the clutter.
Jim?
Yeah, I would say the first good news is that if you've created something, there's kind of a digital rule out there called COPE, COPE, which is create once and publish everywhere. So the nice thing that we've advanced beyond the days of writing something for the learned journal and be able to publish it there. You do have opportunities to post on a blog, to put something on your bio, both on your firm bio and your LinkedIn bio, be able to connect it to other social media that the firm is part of. The question that I think you're asking, however, is how do I communicate with a client and not overwhelm them? One way to do this, and I'll let David jump in after that, would be whatever your client's favorite mode of communication is, whether it's a phone or a text or an email, do something quickly that says, I've got this piece on blah, blah. Would that be of interest to you and helpful? I don't want to overwhelm you if you've had a lot of other information on it, but I do have it here. I've spent some time on it. If it would be helpful to you, I'd love to send it on. That way you're just not going blah, and sending it on to them. David, what do you think?
Yeah, and similar to that, another variation of the same concept can be, hi there, client. I was thinking about you. I wrote this article, and it really made me think about you, especially the third paragraph that I've highlighted.
Yes,
And
that's
or,
very good.
yeah, and the other thing about putting out these publications is to create a little summary on why this applies to you. The thing that clients get so overwhelmed with is all of a sudden, the government comes out with a new version of how to do PPP. Well, great. I'm about to get 7,000 emails from law firms about that. But the law firm that says, hey there, David Freeman, just like Jim, you were talking about with your accountant, here's the new rule, and here's why I think you should look at it, especially this, that, and that. If you can customize it to them, that's your excuse. And something that at the beginning of your question, I thought you were getting to, so I'm going to just add something on top of it, is when you're writing, this is an opportunity to cold call anybody you want. So, hi there, going through your LinkedIn contact. You might find, if I want to meet somebody and I go in and I say, oh, Jim Staples is a first degree contact with Jane Doe. Jim, can you make a contact with Jane because I'm writing an article on something and Jane would be a great resource. So now Jim's comfortable doing it because he's not selling for me. It's a clean colleague to colleague based approach.
Yes.
So it's
That's
using
brilliant.
writing, webinars, you can use all of this stuff as a way to reach out to people.
That's really good, David.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Yeah, pleasure.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts or ideas or questions? And I'm not seeing any, but
Okay.
Rick, this
I-
is Madeline.
Oh, good.
Go ahead, Madeline.
I want to save the date announcement for our summer conference next year in June. Could you add a little bit to that, Rick?
certainly I was going to send out a chat message to everyone that's here and participated, just to give you a heads up. June 17 and 18 at the Hotel Indigo in Traverse City in 2021. We will be having a featured speaker who's one of our guests today. Jim Staples has agreed to come into town and help us with that program and give us a little more insight. And David, I most certainly invite you to come join us.
Thank you.
Might be a
You
little
need Traverse
difficult.
City, dude.
Yeah, long drive.
Yeah, but anyway, for those online here, I wanted to let you know that so you can plan for 2021. We really were set up for this year, but unfortunately circumstances didn't allow us to do it.
Yeah. I'm going to add one thing before you close, just as a little bit of a tip for everybody. So I know that we asked you to not be on video, so that's great. For everybody who's still here, there's only 2 people that have a photo that's on your screen. I would recommend to upload a photo of you, because again, we're in a medium right now where we are trying to create some level of connection. And so just these little tiny tips all add to that personality that we're looking to try to engender in this medium. So go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, thanks, David. And thank you, Jim. I appreciate both of you coming in and speaking with us and sharing such great insight. And this was really fantastic. We had a good turnout here. We are recording this for everybody online, so if you do want to see it, I think Madeline had mentioned where it's going to be located, but we'll get more information out. Anything that Jim or David you want to say to close out here? Otherwise, we'll bring it to its conclusion.
I think we've done it. I'll just say that this was an example. David reached out to me with 3 things that he was offering. I reached out to Rick and said, my friend David is offering these things. Would you like one of us to do it together? And so through David's wonderful world of giftology, and be a gift house. What's that word? Giftapreneur? How do you say that word?
Giverpreneur.
Giverpreneur. We offer you this gift and hope you can make good use of it.
Same.
Great. Well, I hope everybody stays well and stays safe.
Thanks.
And that we all get back to what will eventually be again our new normal once we get through this. But thank you, and it was really an honor to have the 2 of you speak for us.
Well, it's our pleasure.